For decades, the United States Air Force operated under a specific set of assumptions. In conflicts like Iraq or Yugoslavia, American jets flew with almost zero effective opposition, controlling the skies with a dominance that appeared permanent. That track record was recently challenged by a coordinated strike on Iran. A report from the Congressional Research Service, a nonpartisan, verified legislative agency, has released data that details the scale of the resulting losses. The Pentagon lost an estimated $29 billion in just a matter of weeks, dwarfing the operational costs of recent air campaigns. Beyond the dollars, the material cost was staggering. The U.S. lost 42 high-tech aircraft, including some of its most advanced platforms. The data suggests that American air dominance is no longer a guarantee. To understand how this happened, we have to look at the three specific traps that neutralized the most advanced air force in history. The first trap was the geography of Iran itself. The Zagros Mountains are vast and rugged, creating massive radar dead zones that essentially hide everything on the other side from incoming fighters. Because Iranian targets were scattered deep within this terrain, standard tracking and rescue operations became impossible. American pilots found that the mountains themselves were blocking their sensors and their communications. This geographic wall became a disaster on April 3rd, when an F-15 was shot down. Both crew members ejected, landing in the middle of these hostile jacket peaks. The U.S. launched a desperate combat rescue mission, involving a massive swarm of 150 aircraft and helicopters to pull the crew out before capture. But the mountains were an ambush. Iranian defenses were hidden in the high terrain, using the peaks to shield their own signals while they opened fire on the rescue fleet. In this environment, geography was an active weapon. A single downed jet drew the U.S. into a rescue trap that damaged and destroyed even more aircraft. Iran utilized an asymmetric doctrine. They understood they couldn't win a dogfight against an F-15, so they ignored the fighters and targeted the logistical spine that keeps those fighters in the air. This strategy led to the loss of 7 KC-135 Stratotankers. These are massive, vulnerable planes that act as the fuel lifeline for the fleet. Without them, deep strike missions are impossible. They also targeted the E-3 AWACS. This $100 million plane is a flying radar hub. When it's destroyed, the U.S. loses its battlefield awareness, and the entire air wing goes blind. While the U.S. relied on these massive, expensive giants, Iran flooded the airspace with cheap, disposable drone swarms to confuse and saturate American defenses. This exposed a critical weakness in the U.S. drone program. Over 24 highly expensive MQ-9 Reapers were lost, proving they are far more vulnerable against a sophisticated military than they were in the counterinsurgency wars of the past. By cutting off the fuel and blinding the radar, Iran managed to ground the U.S. Air Force without needing to match their technology plane for plane. The most significant blow to the myth of American air power was the downing of an F-35 Lightning II. This is a $100 million premier stealth fighter, the crown jewel of the fleet. The F-35 was designed to be virtually invisible. Its entire shape and sensor suite are built to penetrate the most advanced defenses on Earth without being tracked. Iran beat this technology using an integrated air defense system. They layered Russian-made missile batteries with passive radar systems that don't emit a signal, making them much harder for the F-35 to detect and destroy first. Using these layered systems, Iran successfully tracked and killed an F-35 in combat. This single event suggests that stealth is a contestable technology, not an absolute defense. The long-held assumption that these jets could operate anywhere without being seen has been broken, forcing a re-evaluation of the core tactics of the U.S. Air Force. This conflict highlights a major strategic problem. When sophisticated, expensive platforms are lost, they are almost impossible to replace quickly. As this diagram shows, the nature of war is shifting back to industrial capacity. A single stealth jet takes years to build and costs a fortune, while an adversary can produce thousands of cheap drones in the same timeframe. The loss of 42 aircraft doesn't just represent a financial blow. It damages the perception of American invincibility that has held since the end of the Cold War. Global adversaries, particularly China and Russia, are already rewriting their military playbooks based on these events. They see a blueprint for how a smaller force can neutralize a technological giant. The lesson of the Iran war is clear. In modern combat, the most expensive weapons in the world don't guarantee a victory. They just guarantee a much more expensive defeat.